Kindness is one of the most beautiful traits you can embody. It's often seen as the foundation of great relationships, great communities, and a better world. We see it as a virtue that should be practiced at all costs. But here's the truth. Kindness, if not understood or applied in the right way, can ruin your life. Now, I know that might sound a little extreme. After all, how can kindness ruin anything? Kindness is supposed to help, but let me explain. I'm going to share 4 ways in which kindness, if not balanced with wisdom, will steer you off course and leave you stuck, frustrated, and unfulfilled. And believe me, I've seen it happen time and time again. We all know people who are perpetually giving. They're the ones who can't say no, the ones who always put others first, no matter the cost to themselves. They show up early to help, stay late to clean up, and offer their time, resources, and energy to everyone around them. At first, it seems like an admirable thing. How could you fault someone who is always willing to help? But what happens when this giving becomes a constant drain? What happens when the well that you're drawing from begins to run dry? The problem with kindness without boundaries is that it leads to burnout. You may think you're helping people, but at the same time, you're sacrificing your own well-being in the process. If you're constantly giving to others and never taking the time to refuel yourself, eventually, there's nothing left to give. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water when the bucket is already full of holes. The water just keeps pouring out, and no matter how hard you try, the bucket can never hold the water. Consider the story of a man named John. John was the kind of person who was always there for everyone. His friends knew they could count on him. His colleagues knew they could depend on him to pick up the slack whenever something went wrong. He was the one who volunteered for extra shifts at work, the one who stayed late to help friends move, and the one who always lent a hand when someone needed support. But what John didn't realize was that his kindness was costing him. John's health began to decline. He started feeling tired all the time. His relationships with his family became strained because he was always giving his energy to others, leaving little for them. His work began to suffer, not because he wasn't capable, but because he was too exhausted to perform at his best. Eventually, John had to face the harsh reality. He had nothing left to give. He had poured everything he had into others, and in the process, he had drained himself. This isn't just a story. This is happening to countless people all around us. Kindness, when it's offered without boundaries, may seem like a noble endeavor, but it will quickly begin to consume you. You'll find yourself exhausted, overwhelmed, and eventually resentful because you've given so much, but the return has been little to none. You've helped others rise while leaving yourself behind. You've taken on everyone else's burdens, but in doing so, you've neglected your own dreams, your own health, and your own happiness. To be truly kind, you must learn to set boundaries. You must realize that you cannot help others if you are not first taking care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish, it is necessary. If you're constantly giving without replenishing your own energy, you will eventually lose the very thing that makes you capable of kindness, your health, your happiness, and your strength. Think of it like this. Imagine that you are an artist with a canvas. Every time you offer kindness without boundaries, you add a stroke to the canvas. If you keep painting without stepping back to take a breath, your masterpiece will become messy, rushed, and incomplete. But if you step back, give yourself time to reflect, to rejuvenate, to find your center, you'll return to your work with renewed energy, creativity, and purpose. Your kindness will be stronger, more effective, and more meaningful. Take a moment to think about your own life. Are there areas where you've been giving too much? Are there people who consistently take from you without consideration for your own well-being? You might feel guilty for saying no, but the truth is that saying no is often the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others. It creates the space for you to grow, to thrive, and to continue being a source of light for those who truly need you. Boundaries don't make you less kind, they make you more effective. They allow you to be present when it truly matters, to help in ways that are sustainable, and to protect your own energy so you don't burn out. By setting clear limits, you demonstrate respect for your own time and energy, and in doing so, you teach others to respect those same boundaries. Remember, kindness without boundaries is like giving without ever refilling the well. You'll eventually run dry, and when that happens, everyone loses. But kindness that is offered from a place of balance and strength can change lives, starting with your own. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed, the next time you feel yourself giving too much, stop and take a step back. Recognize that your kindness needs to come from a place of abundance, not exhaustion. Your energy is precious, and when you give it thoughtfully, with boundaries in place, you become an unstoppable force of good. Kindness is a virtue, no doubt about it. It is a force that can heal wounds, bridge gaps, and build relationships. But what happens when you are kind for the wrong reasons? What happens when your kindness is used as a way to avoid conflict or to protect yourself from uncomfortable situations? The reality is, kindness without integrity will leave you with nothing but regrets. Imagine this. You're at work and a colleague asks you to cover for them. You know they've made a mistake, but instead of being honest, you say yes. You take the responsibility upon yourself even though it isn't yours to bear. You think you're being kind, but in reality, you're compromising your values. In the moment, it feels easier. You don't want to rock the boat, don't want to be seen as difficult or unhelpful. You just want to keep the peace. But deep down, you know something doesn't sit right with you. This scenario might seem small, but it's the accumulation of these little acts of kindness without integrity that erodes your sense of self. You've said yes when you should have said no. You've sacrificed your own values, and when you do that, you lose a piece of who you are. Over time, you begin to feel resentful. You start to regret the compromises you've made, the things you didn't say, the moments when you didn't stand up for yourself or for what was right. It's easy to be kind when it costs you nothing. It's easy to be generous when it doesn't ask anything of you. But real kindness is built on a foundation of integrity. Integrity means doing what's right even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient. And sometimes doing what's right means saying no when everyone else expects you to say yes. Think about a time when you were faced with a difficult decision to stand up for yourself or to keep the peace. Maybe it was a friendship that was starting to feel one-sided. Maybe it was a relationship where you were giving far more than you were receiving. You didn't want to make waves, so you chose to ignore the growing tension, to keep being nice. But at what cost? The truth is, when you don't align your kindness with your integrity, you allow others to take advantage of you. And while you might feel momentary relief from avoiding conflict, that relief doesn't last. The weight of your internal struggle grows heavier with each compromise. You'll find yourself caught in a cycle of self-betrayal, unable to fully trust yourself because you've given in too many times when you should have stood your ground. Take a look at the story of a woman named Lisa. Lisa had always been the nice one. Her friends came to her with their problems, knowing she'd listen, knowing she'd support them. But over time, Lisa started noticing a pattern. She was always the one giving. She gave advice, she gave her time, she gave her energy. But it wasn't reciprocal. Her friends would take, but they wouldn't give back. Lisa was being kind, but she wasn't being honest with herself. She didn't want to face the discomfort of addressing the imbalance in the relationship, so she kept giving, hoping things would change on their own. But they didn't. One day, after years of this, Lisa realized how much resentment she had built up. She felt empty. She had poured so much of herself into her friendships that she had nothing left. She wasn't angry at her friends. She was angry with herself for not speaking up, for not being honest. The regret she felt wasn't because she had been kind. It was because she had failed to live in alignment with her values. Kindness, when done with integrity, can build strong, meaningful relationships. But kindness without integrity creates an illusion. You may feel good in the short term, but the long-term effect is emotional depletion. It's a gradual erosion of trust, not only from others, but with yourself. You'll look back and realize that the kindness you offered was often a shield, a way to avoid confrontation or discomfort rather than a genuine act of love. When you compromise your integrity for the sake of being nice, you allow your values to be shaped by the desires of others rather than your own. You become a person who is afraid to express true feelings, to set boundaries, or to say what's really on your mind. But true kindness doesn't come from avoiding difficult conversations. It comes from being honest even when it's hard. It's about having the courage to say no when you need to, or to speak up when you see something wrong. There's power in saying no. There's power in setting boundaries that protect your time and energy. And there's power in choosing to align your kindness with your values so that when you give, it's a gift rather than a burden. Now, I'm not suggesting that you stop being kind. Kindness is a powerful force. But what I am saying is that kindness, when done without integrity, can lead to regret, burnout, and dissatisfaction. And when that happens, you are doing a disservice to yourself and those around you. True kindness doesn't mean avoiding tough situations. It means approaching those situations with honesty and integrity, standing firm in your values, and being willing to sacrifice comfort for the sake of what's right. When you can align your kindness with integrity, it becomes a source of strength, not weakness. It empowers you to be your best self, and it enables you to create relationships that are built on mutual respect and honesty rather than the illusion of perfection. In the end, kindness without integrity doesn't just affect the people around you. It affects your own soul. And if you can learn to be kind in a way that honors your values, you will never have to live with the burden of regret. You'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that your kindness is real and it comes from a place of truth. Kindness can be a gift that transforms lives, but when it is given without accountability, it can unintentionally enable mediocrity. We all want to help others. We want to lift people up and support them in their struggles. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, by constantly rescuing people, we prevent them from learning the valuable lessons they need to grow. Think about it. How often have you stepped in to help someone who should have faced the consequences of their actions? Maybe it was a friend who asked for your financial help but never took steps to manage their money properly. Or perhaps a colleague who continually slacked off, relying on you to pick up the pieces. Each time you stepped in, you thought you were being kind, that you were saving them from hardship or failure. But in reality, you were stopping them from experiencing the very thing that could propel them to change: accountability. When we constantly bail people out, we keep them stuck. We allow them to continue their patterns of irresponsibility, laziness, or avoidance. And the more we enable their behavior, the more we contribute to their lack of growth. Real kindness is not about shielding people from the natural consequences of their action. It's about letting them face those consequences even if it's uncomfortable for both of you, because it's only in facing those difficult moments that people can learn, adapt, and truly grow. Think about the story of Daniel, a man who had a friend named Tim. Tim had always been irresponsible with his work. He would frequently miss deadlines, make excuses, and avoid taking responsibility for his mistakes. Every time Tim messed up, Daniel would swoop in to fix the problem, taking on extra work to cover for him. At first, Daniel felt good about being a helpful friend. But as time went on, he began to realize something. Tim wasn't changing. He wasn't learning how to manage his time, take ownership, or be more responsible. Why? Because Daniel had been enabling his poor behavior by continuously stepping in to fix things. Daniel realized that by being too kind, he wasn't helping Tim. He was preventing him from taking responsibility for his actions. Daniel finally had to make a tough choice. He had to stop fixing Tim's mistakes. At first, Tim was angry and frustrated, but eventually he began to see the impact of his own actions. He started to take responsibility for his work, set better habits, and became more reliable. Daniel's kindness in the end came from holding Tim accountable, not from shielding him from the reality of his choices. This is where the power of kindness lies. True kindness is not about making things easier for others, but about empowering them to step up and take ownership of their lives. You have to be willing to let people face their struggles, even when it's difficult. You have to trust that the lessons they learn from overcoming adversity will serve them far better than the comfort of always being saved. Think about your own life. Are there people you've been enabling? Maybe you've been constantly rescuing someone from the natural consequences of their actions, whether it's in a personal relationship or in the workplace. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you're doing the right thing by helping. But in the long run, your kindness could be preventing them from reaching their full potential. When you offer kindness, make sure it comes with the understanding that true help involves teaching others to be responsible. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is allow someone to fail, to stumble, and to figure things out on their own. It's tough, it's uncomfortable, but it's also necessary for their growth. Key takeaway: true kindness requires tough love. Holding others accountable is one of the most powerful ways you can help them grow. When you are consistently kind, you attract people. And while this sounds wonderful, there's a flip side. Kindness, when offered indiscriminately, can draw in people who are only interested in taking from you, people who don't have your best interests at heart, people who will use your kindness as an opportunity to exploit you. Without discernment, your kindness can create a situation where you are constantly giving without receiving, leaving you feeling drained and unappreciated. Think about a time when you've given your all to someone, only to realize they weren't interested in offering anything in return. Maybe it was a friend who only reached out when they needed something but disappeared when you were in need, or a coworker who constantly asked for help but never returned the favor. These situations can leave you feeling resentful and used because while you were being kind, the other person was simply taking advantage of your generosity. When you are kind without discernment, you open the door for people who are only interested in what you can give them. They may not have ill intentions, but they are using your kindness as a means to get what they want, and once they've taken it, they move on. It's like being a magnet for those who want to benefit from your generosity without ever thinking about how they can contribute or reciprocate. This situation happens often in relationships. People may come into your life because they see you as someone who is constantly giving, who is always there to listen, to support, and to help. But over time, you begin to realize that these relationships are one-sided. You've attracted people who are only interested in receiving, but never in giving. And because your kindness was offered without discernment, you now find yourself in a situation where you are constantly giving, but never receiving. Think about a woman named Jennifer who was always there for her friends. She would lend an ear whenever someone needed to talk. She would drop everything to help someone move, and she would go out of her way to make others feel comfortable. But over time, Jennifer noticed a pattern. The people she was helping never seemed to offer the same level of support in return. In fact, some of them began to take her kindness for granted. They would ask her for favors without even considering how much time and energy they were asking of her. They would lean on her when they needed something, but disappear when she needed them. Jennifer's kindness, while genuine, had attracted people who were only interested in taking. They saw her as an easy source of help, but they never offered to help her in return. Eventually, Jennifer realized that she needed to set boundaries. She needed to choose her relationships more wisely and ensure that she wasn't just giving to people who wouldn't give back. By offering kindness only to those who reciprocated, she was able to protect her energy and form more balanced, fulfilling relationships. The lesson here is simple. Kindness without discernment can attract people who will take advantage of you. You can't be kind to everyone, and you shouldn't expect every person to respond with gratitude or reciprocity. To truly protect yourself and your energy, you need to practice discernment. Choose the people you give your time and kindness to carefully. Surround yourself with those who appreciate you and who will reciprocate the same level of kindness and respect. Key takeaway: kindness without discernment can lead to attracting the wrong people. Protect your energy by offering your kindness to those who value and respect it. Kindness is one of the most powerful forces we possess, capable of transforming lives, building deep connections, and creating a ripple effect of positivity. However, as with any great power, it must be used wisely. When kindness is given without boundaries, without integrity, without accountability, or without discernment, it can lead to burnout, regret, enable mediocrity, and attract people who drain your energy rather than replenish it. True kindness requires balance. It is not about giving endlessly without consideration for your own well-being, nor is it about sacrificing your values or integrity to please others. It is about knowing when to say no, when to set boundaries, and when to stand firm in your values. It is about offering support while still allowing others the space to grow, learn from their mistakes, and take responsibility for their own actions. And it is about choosing to invest your energy in relationships that are reciprocal, where kindness is not one-sided but shared. So as you continue on your journey, remember this: kindness is a gift, but it must be given with wisdom. Be discerning in how you offer it, and make sure that in doing so, you are not losing yourself or enabling others to remain stuck in mediocrity. True kindness is the kind that uplifts both you and those around you. It is the kind that empowers, strengthens, and leaves a legacy of love, respect, and growth